Hello, everybody. This is Sophia Mona Lisa of the Roseville Mystery School and the Golden Ray Center. And I'm very excited to welcome you back to another installment of our Divine Feminine Leadership for the Awakening Woman conversations. The theme for today's discussion is around the American collective consciousness and how we are perceiving the seeds of unity and the diversity of our great nation starting to take root and sprout. And so I have with me today from the Galactic New Earth Tribe, Winsong and Sophia Regina, and I'm just going to give them an opportunity very quickly to introduce themselves to you before we start the conversation. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, let me make sure that the view is set to gallery. There we go. All right. So who would like to introduce themselves first? Okay. Winsong. She's pointing at you. So
Okay.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Hi. Yes. My name is Maureen, and I go by the spiritual name of Winsong. Um, I have been a Venus and Sagittarius truth seeker my entire life before I even understood Venus and her cycle. Um, I have studied the Venus cycle probably 15 years. And recently, I have brought to the table of the Venus cycle the ancient study of alchemy and how that relates to the gates when the Venus is conjunct the moon and how it relates to the chakras involved. It's been the most interesting and self-absorbing study that I have ever done. And I am so glad uh, to be given the opportunity to do that with Sophia Mona Lisa. I am going to continue that work as long as I can.
Yeah, I love how you spoke to your Venus and Sagittarius. Winsong and I are genuinely soul sisters. We are born 16 years apart, and the crossovers between our charts are just phenomenal. We were both born with Venus and Sagittarius, so we are both driven by that quest for truth, seeking those higher truths. And we're both born under the Scorpio goddess. And so we both are deeply entrenched in the alchemical mysteries because of that Scorpio goddess. So, our partnership in the Galactic New Earth Tribe through the Venus Synodic cycle is a very natural partnership. We just kind of like, hand in the glove, all right, two peas in a pod, whatever they say. It just works. So I focus on
Good.
the aspects and the frequencies, the messages of the frequencies I see in the aspects. And Winsong focuses on the alchemical process and the way that the two are so synchronistic and from moment to moment is constantly blowing our minds. So it's a lot of fun. And then we have Sophia Regina, another Galactic New Earth Tribe member with us today.
Yes, thank you so very much. My name is Gina, and my spiritual name is Sophia Regina. And like Maureen, like Winsong says, that she's always been a truth seeker. I have been the other side of that, I would think, is I've always been looking for acceptance. And so not finding it my whole life growing up, I feel called to help other people learn how to accept other people and their beliefs. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just everybody is different. That's what makes us such a diverse. That's the diversity in humanity, is that everyone believes something different. And there's nothing wrong with accepting people's beliefs. You don't have to believe what they believe. You allowing them to do so. And that's been, that seems to be what my calling seems to be, is teaching people how to accept. Not that I'm perfect at it, God knows, but our goddess knows, as Sophia says. It's a work in progress, as we all are. And I found this little tribe, and I'm so thrilled that I found all of you, because this is truly an accepting group of people. And Lord knows I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm actually good with that now. I'm even accepting parts of myself that I've denied for many years. And so there has been growth. Oh my God, I've grown. Now all I need to do is lose weight. So
Well, you're definitely our cup of tea. So
Yes, you are.
You're so sweet.
And I would say it goes beyond the fact that everybody has their own beliefs. Of course they do. And some of them they've discerned for themselves. Some of them they've inherited through their ancestral lineage or whatever community they're in. But beyond the beliefs, it's the fact that we are all divine beings, and we've all come here with a soul mission. And so while the three of us have very unique soul missions, again, it comes back to that co-collaboration in the diversity amongst us that unifies the work that we are doing for humanity. So we, as you know, through the Galactic New Earth Project, are working with the Venus synodic cycle, and we are currently in what's known as the ascent journey, or the evening star phase, the third of the 4 phases. And we are working very uniquely this time with the crystalline body, the higher octave chakras, through this ascent journey. And in doing so, we've brought in some very unique tools. We're working with the ascended masters, we're working with the archangels, we're working with the sacred flames of the different rays. We're working with the solfeggio frequencies and the alchemical frequencies of the stones. We've brought in a whole new shamanic bag of tools for this journey. And the reason why we're coming together today is because through the work that we're doing, and through some very key events that happened right up to the day before our election day, November 5th, we are seeing the manifestation of the work, the spiritual work, the light work, the frequency work, the ascension work, the alchemical work, whatever phrase sounds good to you. We're seeing the evidence of that expansion in consciousness within the American collective consciousness as it unfolded through that election day and the election night results. And this was something that Sophia asked me to come together and speak to. And it was not a comfortable assignment for any of us. And we've worked through our own discomfort, and we're going to give it our best shot, because there were very definite things that we observed unfolding that we would like to bring into the consciousness of others. I can't believe that the three of us are the only ones that are seeing the shift that we have witnessed. But for those that haven't yet seen it, we want to show you what we're seeing so that hopefully you can see this for yourself. And so before we get going on that, I want to go back to a quote from Saint Germain, speaking of the ascended masters, that's in the book called Unveiled Mysteries. And it's regarding the destiny of the United States of America. And we've been working very closely with Saint Germain and his violet fire. And so this is really the crux of why I was guided by Sophia to have us come together and have this conversation. It's the perfect time to bring an awareness to not only this destiny as described by Saint Germain, but how what unfolded on the election night is a manifestation of the shift towards the destiny of the United States, as Saint Germain speaks to it here. And he says, the divine plan for the future of North America is to come in the service of the land itself in the greatest peace, beauty, success, prosperity, spiritual illumination, and dominion. America is to carry the Christ light and be the guard for the rest of the earth, because America is to be the heart center of the golden age. This has been known for 200,000 years. So before I move on, one song, Sophia, Regina, is there anything coming up in you that you'd like to speak to regarding this incredible destiny that has been set forth for our nation?
I'm just glad I'm not the only one that sees that. I've believed that for a very long time, and it's nice to, not that we need the validation, but it's nice to see that there are other entities or beings that recognize that and acknowledge that as well, because this is a very unique place. It lends itself to me to the fact that the United States is not a man-made concept. The idea of the US is not a man-made concept. It is a divinely guided concept, because men are flawed. Humans are flawed. But I've believed that the United States is very unique in that respect. I've for I don't know how many years. It's been a long time. Obviously not when I was 2 or 3, but it's been a long time that I've known that the United States is unique in that respect. And I'm just, there is, there is that shift in consciousness. And it's not just us who notice it. There are other people, because we all follow different but there are other people who are also seeing the same thing. And it's nice to know that, okay, it's not just our little group. It's other people in other countries and that have other aspirations or, other methods or whatever that they use. They're noticing the same thing. And so that's always good. To me, that's a very positive thing.
Right. And I love what you said about how this nation is not a man-made concept. It was divinely guided. And I personally believe that the forefathers themselves, the founders of this nation, felt divinely guided and the birthing this nation for us. I see Winsong over there. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel I was born in Massachusetts, didn't spend a lot of time there, but as a child, I think I absorbed the energy of the beginning of our country, our independence.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting to me is that, well, against all odds, we won our independence. We didn't do it alone. We had help, but uh, we did gain our independence, and it was accepted once it was done. It was accepted, and John Adams went to England and was the first American to meet the king. And so that started our relationship, our alliance as equals. And I think that's a very significant point in our history. I also think that it's time to take back the term manifest destiny.
Yes.
It has been hijacked over
Yes.
time to mean colonization, usurping land from others. And I'm not arguing that that wasn't the case in many motivations, but manifest destiny does speak to the United States leading the way for this world. And she has done so proudly since her inception. And and I truly believe that. And so if we make manifest destiny a term of accepting our role and responsibility, it becomes different meaning. Goes back to the original thought. What is manifest destiny? We have a lot more road to go before that is completed, if it ever indeed is completed. But I think we're on the path now. And I, for one, am taking this term back.
Yes, and I appreciate that, because if you think about the term manifest destiny, this quote from Saint Germain tells us clearly what the destiny of our nation is. It is our responsibilities to manifest that destiny, that divine plan. For me, that's what manifest destiny is. Our
It is.
responsibility in making the choices necessary to allow this divine plan for Christ to manifest on not only in this country, but on this planet.
I believe that too.
Yeah. And so let me just say that a couple of days before the election, I got a download about an outcome of the election. And I was like, and a reason for why that timeline for that outcome was highly probable. And I was surprised by the download. I only shared it with a couple of people. And for myself, I had to make peace with it, because that's what I have to do. For me to do the work, to be the instrument for the work that Sophia is doing through me, I have to make peace with whatever's out there so that the work can continue. One of the reasons why we are doing this conversation is on November 5th, being a person who had in no way engaged with the election campaign process, had no clue what was going on, I got a clear message. You need to watch this tonight from beginning to end. And as I did, I was astounded to be aware in real time that I was witnessing the shifting of a timeline from what I had been shown just a day and two before to something completely new coming into fruition, a whole new timeline. And what I recognized by actually seeing this timeline shift before my eyes was that a significant paradigm shift in consciousness was unfolding through this new timeline that was showing up as the election results were coming in. And I watched it. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning watching the whole thing in awe. And then I had to find a way to organize the revelations that I was receiving through all of this. And so it came down to this main ideal, the main ideal being that the American people, regardless of political party affiliation or no political party affiliation, regardless of candidate, were choosing a new reality. And they were choosing a reality that was bringing us back to a foundation for this destiny to be able to come into fruition. And so what I saw is, as Americans who have been really steeped in a matrix of separation consciousness, started to pull themselves out of separation consciousness, out of the herd consciousness of doing what the political party wants you to do in terms of expectations, believing what the political party wants you to believe in terms of what it's based on, that Americans started pulling themselves out of that herd consciousness, out of their separation consciousness, to tap in to the power of their divine self, to reclaim their own sovereignty, which is their divine inheritance, to be able to discern the truth for them. What are they going to choose to create, and what are they going to turn away from that's being given to them as what they have to accept? And I saw this liberation of consciousness happening, where this shift from separation consciousness started to become a shift into unity consciousness. And so, women that were expected to vote for a woman candidate didn't. Doesn't mean that there won't be a woman president one day. But you don't vote for a woman just because she's a woman. You vote for a woman because she's the right woman. The African American community and the Hispanics community that were expected to show up for a candidate decided, you know what? Especially the male Blacks, we're making a different choice. The Muslim community, the Amish community, the Jewish community, you know what? We're making a different choice. We're choosing something different. And then when I started hearing about all of the, what they call Gen Z, and I'm not crazy about those terms, but that's what they use, all of these young people, young adults, Gen Zs, being actively involved in the process so that their truth, their discernment, their sovereignty could be represented. It blew me away, because in my language, the Gen Z is the Sagittarius soul tribe. These are souls that incarnated on our planet between 1995 and 2008. They are the truth seekers. Going back to what Winsong and I said earlier, we are truth seekers. And this Sagittarius soul tribe, they're the second wave of millennials. They are souls that are dedicated to discovering truth, that are dedicated to seeking higher and higher levels of truth. And the work that they're doing in the realization of those truths has been a significant precursor and a necessary foundation for this next soul tribe, the Capricorn soul tribe that has come onto the planet most recently, who are the masters of sovereignty. And so the thing that I love about these Gen Z Sagittarius soul tribes really stepping up in their power, in their sovereignty, is that they are dedicated to teaching humanity not only the truth of who we are as divine beings, but the truth of who we are as a Christ race. And so while we see gender, race, religion, political affiliations being no longer the guideline, the pigeonhole, the square that the peg has to go into in terms of how an American citizen is making its choice. We see this Gen Z, the Sagittarius soul tribe, coming back to help us get back on track as Christed beings, as a Christed race, as divine beings, to be able to bring in the divine plan for this nation that has been known for over 200,000 years. And so, as Winsong said to me earlier, doesn't mean that we're in full-on unity consciousness, but what the paradigm shift that I saw, that I am excited about, is that the seeds of all the light workers for unity consciousness have fallen on fertile ground. Some of them fell on soil and were blown away. And it got to be really kind of frustrating. You could even hard, downtrodden. And when is this unity consciousness thing going to take root? But the election results that night showed us that the paradigm shift has happened, not only through this entire Leo goddess divine royalty journey, and all of the work that the light workers are doing. Those seeds for unity consciousness fell on fertile ground. And every American that crossed a label for how they should make a choice in an election, be it gender, race, religion, party, whatever, age, that consciousness became like mist. And the roots, the seeds that had taken root in the fertile ground, started to sprout. And as they sprouted, that shift this timeline to where we are now moving away from separation consciousness and into unity consciousness, which is what we are going to see more and more of as Pluto makes its final ingress into Aquarius 8 days from today and stays in Aquarius for the next 2 decades. I've been saying from the beginning, Pluto in Aquarius is global consciousness. We have to come into global consciousness in order for us to be invited into the galactic community. And so, having not at all been involved in what's transpired with the campaign, to seeing this staying up all night and watching this unfold as this new timeline showed up, I was ecstatic. So I'm going to allow Sophia, Regina, and Winsong the space to speak to what they've witnessed and anything I've shared in terms of their reactions to what I've shared, however they're guided to.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that evidences a paradigm shift is the Amish. The Amish have held themselves apart from the English, as they call everyone else, since they've been here. They have not wished to integrate in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying that they are going to start being an integrated group now. They aren't, but they noticed that their world was being impacted. They are farmers, and it was beginning to affect them as farmers, and they didn't like that. They didn't like the way it was going. To be controlled like that and told what they could and couldn't do as far as their occupation or the thing that they focused on as a group. And so they came out and registered and they voted to and to people to understand what a big, huge thing that was. I've seen several people reporting on it. It was gigantic. I mean, look at that. Amish, they're talking to us. They're telling us how they feel. They're voting. They've never done that before. And so to me, that was mind blowing. I just said, this is a big, big change for all of us to take note of. That they no longer are apart from collective consciousness. They have reason to be with us now, as far as goals and the importance of what they do and freedom. I think that's really a unique thing that has happened in this election. And I don't think it was at the beginning of the campaign. I don't think they were paying much attention to the election. But as it went on and they began to put two and two together and how they were being hampered in what they do, they said, yeah, we have a say in this, and I think we need to stand up for ourselves. And they did. It was amazing.
It is amazing. And what you're describing is the evidence of what I was speaking to in terms of American citizens reclaiming their sovereignty and no longer following an expectation, whether it's coming, from a religious group, a racial group, a political group, whether it's coming through the programming and psyops of mainstream media. People reclaimed their sovereignty, they reclaimed their power, and they were able to own their truth and cast their voice for their truth. A huge shift, huge shift.
It was. And I hope to see that claiming of sovereignty grow.
Yes.
Within our country. The Amish was something I just found out about just a few days ago, just before the election. And I went, Well, that just to me spoke volumes.
Mm.
But again, it goes to similar to the what we have seen happen in our country of when you back someone into a corner, what do? They come out swinging. And that's what they did, because a lot of the things that they were imposing upon those communities impacted them. Had it not impacted them, we probably wouldn't have seen what we saw. You know, and I guess that's okay, but I think I'm hoping it is more of a realization that even though you can remain somewhat segregated from the rest of us, you aren't. You are still part of
Right.
who we are. And you have we each have a responsibility to participate in our society. You chose to live here. You came here. So why do you wish to not participate in what's going on in your country? Even though it may not directly affect you, at some point it probably will. You know, so that was just a huge, like a huge awakening for me, and of my own self, even to, I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but to be more aware and more involved.
Yes.
Because I don't have to be involved on the national level or the state level. I can be involved in the community level. So, and that's an important part, because everything else is based on what goes on in the community level. That's the foundation. And so I was just really, that was just something. And that again, what the party affiliation, I'm going to use my little air quotes, demanded of their members of their party, and how they went, oh no, you're not going to tell me what I have to do.
Right.
This is my choice. And I think that that's, I hope that we continue to see that, because it doesn't have to get violent, but Lord knows that they've used it. The powers that be, the evil forces that have been, the dark forces, I guess I should say, that have been trying to enslave everyone for forever and ever now. And people are waking up, and that's the shift that we see. And I just hope we keep seeing that shift. That's all I can, that's what I'm seeing. And for my own self to even be, because I have found myself unwilling to listen to other people. Why? Because nobody wants to listen to me. But only by example do we teach people. If I want to be listened to, I also should listen to what other people have to say, even if I disagree with it, or a lot even. You know, it's easy to listen to somebody that you don't agree with a whole great deal. But if somebody is that opposite you, that's another thing altogether. And I think, and then for those people that don't want to listen, the idea for me, is to let them come with the question. Allow them the space to come and ask the question. Rather than trying to teach, let them ask for the help or the understanding. And that's a big thing, because that to me is an indication that they are ready to listen.
Right. Right. Well, the very exciting thing for me is that I could see the American people making a clear statement that we live in the United States of America. It was founded as a republic. It was founded based on the principles of freedom. And that's what we're choosing. We are choosing our republic. We are choosing our freedom. I am a descendant of immigrants from Sicily and from Germany. And, I'm not proud of the fact that my German great-great-grandmother rolled her Victrola to the window in Cleveland, Ohio, and played the German national anthem and shouted Heil Hitler. But you know what? She had the right to do it because she was in America. Meanwhile, my great-grandfather from Sicily, was 16 years old when he came over, and his mother said to him, "What's the difference if you go there and you're poor or you stay here and you're poor?" But he came here and he left an incredible legacy through his family here. And he was not poor. He got to live the American dream. And that's why people choose to come here. That's why people choose to come here and become naturalized, because they believe in freedom. They believe in the right to choose. They believe in the divine plan of this nation, and they want to be a part of it. And so, I mean, again, have you seen those, what do they call them? Those movies, time-lapse movies, where they show a seed being planted and then it breaks open under the soil and the roots start to go out, and then it starts to come up above the ground, sprout up above the ground until it finally becomes a beautiful flower or whatever it is. That's what I felt like I was watching. I felt like I was watching a time-lapsed movie with that time life shift, where I could see all of these seeds that had been planted for unity consciousness, for the reclaiming of ourselves as Christed beings, coming up through the soil. And so I'm excited about that. And I am hopeful that other people can see that the way that I've been able to see it, and continue to look, as you said, Sophia Regina, for that to continue to sprout and grow and get momentum behind it. It's been like turning the Titanic around. I've used that analogy so many times, but by gosh, the American people did it. And we did it with the assistance of the prayers of humanity around the world. We did it with the assistance of the ascended masters. We did it with the assistance of the angelic kingdom and the archangels. This is a huge, what is the word I want to use? Moment in the evolution of humanity that unfolded November 5th. And of course, I said, we've been working towards this through the Galactic New Earth Project and the Venus Synodic Cycle. But let's take a look at the charts of some of the events leading up to November 5th. And we'll start here with that new moon in Scorpio that happened November 1st. Trying to make this larger. Hold on a second. Resize window. Oops, sorry. Let me get back to my share. Or what happened here? There we go. All right. I wanted this to be able to be seen side by side. I've got fine motor skill issues, as you know. New moon in Scorpio. Well, I already mentioned Scorpio, right? Winsong and I are Scorpio goddesses. Scorpio is all about alchemy, right? And so here's the new moon in Scorpio, and then look at what was in the sky. Two significant aspects. First of all, the kite. The kite is the highest alchemical aspect that there is in all of the astrological aspects. This is when, this top part of the kite where you've got Mars in Cancer at the 29th degree. 29 degrees of any astrological sign is a mastery point. We've just started with a whole new Mars synodic cycle for the Cancer archetype of the throne of Christ archetype. And here it is, 29 degrees of Mars, throne of Christ archetype as one of the spiritual gifts. We've got Uranus and Magdalene, your inner Sophia consciousness, your inner divine wisdom. Uranus, they're both retrograde, pulling you in, liberating yourself, liberating you from, well, think about a bull or an ox that is yoked, liberating yourself from the yoke, liberating yourself from slavery into your own sovereignty. And then we've got Pisces here with Neptune retrograde, also pulling us in, that pipeline straight from the divine realm. These are the spiritual gifts of this kite that's built on a grand water trine, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, totally divine feminine. So the divine mother is all over this at the new moon, right? The new moon is that void, that cosmic egg, which new fields of consciousness are birthed from. And who's down here at the tail? Mercury. Mercury in the first house within about 5 degrees of the ascendant, saying, you know what? We are going to know ourselves as alchemists that are using our voice to alchemize and liberate the consciousness of this nation. This is huge. This is huge. What's coming up for you, Winsong, as you look at that kite?
Just what we've seen. I understand it. I was just identifying where in my own chart that might have happened, which is what we all do
Right.
when we look at charts, is figure out where that is in our chart, and that will affect how we feel. Yeah, it's a pretty powerful chart.
Well, and then it gets even better because not only do we have this kite, but now we have, if you can follow the very light pink lines, we have an hourglass. And of course, what enabled us to get to this hourglass is that right across from this throne of Christ archetype, right? And what is the throne of Christ archetype? It is the ascension technology. That's what the throne of Christ is, the ascension technology, standing right across the sky from the cosmic Sophia, the cosmic Christ, and Pluto. Our souls, our evolutionary path being in union with the Sophia-Christ, our divine I am presence, allowing us to reclaim that sovereignty and to be able to use our voice over here through Mercury to speak our truth. And so, what happens is you've got all of this here in the top of the hourglass coming through to the bottom of the hourglass. And so what is coming through? What is coming through is that resurrection, alchemical ascension technology through the throne of Christ archetype, the Sophia, the liberating frequencies of your own divine wisdom coming through here to be able to look. Mercury, which is the ruler of the third house, where Isis, Osiris, right, Sophia, Christ, and Pluto are, being able to communicate your sovereignty, receiving your sovereignty through that ascension technology and being able to communicate your sovereignty. Just phenomenal. So that field of consciousness was planted 4 days before the election. This is why there was such rapid shifts in timelines. I was getting a download on a timeline 2 days before, still receiving that timeline the day before, and then that night saw it, boom, the timeline shift. What is Capricorn? Timelines. Mm-hmm. Look at what happened here. Pluto with Sophia-Christ prepared the way for that timeline shift to happen. Just incredible. Any other thoughts or comments about what I'm sharing with what happened in the sky on the new moon?
I'm not sure, but is between Mars and Mercury that side of the kite there, is that a, I don't know the term, so correct me if I'm wrong, is that a stellium? Where you have
you have a stellium when 3 or more luminary bodies are standing together. So right here, across from Mars, right, that throne of Christ archetype, you've got, this is the cosmic Sophia, this is the cosmic Christ, and Pluto, right? Pluto, the big transformer. Over here, you've got Uranus, the big liberator. Look at Christ, 29 degrees, 32 minutes. Pluto, 29 degrees, 45 minutes. We're talking 13 minutes from an exact conjunction between the cosmic Christ and Pluto. And so for those that don't understand how the Christ energies are being made manifest through the American people, I hope that this chart will demonstrate that call, right? When you hear that divine calling, you have to answer it, right? It's that inspiration, that divine inspiration that is calling to you, third house, so that you can then in first house act on that inspired calling and use your voice. See how that happens there at the bottom of that hourglass?
Yes.
And what do hourglasses do? They bridge heaven and earth, right? Mm-hmm. Bringing heaven into earth. What is it that you're looking at, Wensong?
I'm just looking at the chart.
Yeah, because it looked like the wheels were turning in there.
I'm just following along because reading charts is not easy for me. And I'm so with you. Yeah.
So that happened on November 1st. Then on November 4th, and I put out a little Facebook post related to it, a brief one. Mm-hmm. On November 4th, we had in our Venus synodic cycle, right, the activation of our heart chakra, which is known as the portal of compassion. That activation, and remember, we're working with the crystalline body, right? The higher octave, the Christ heart. That activation of the Christ heart took place the day before the election. And so here is the kite. And look at how the points of the kite shifted, because we go from the Magdalene and the Uranus being at the head of the kite as a spiritual gift. They're not up here. We go from Mercury at the tail of the kite to now being one of the spiritual gifts. And where is Mercury? He's now in Sagittarius. I've got to speak my truth. But who's at the head? The cosmic Sophia, Pluto, the cosmic transformer, and Christ, the cosmic Christ, Osiris. Mm-hmm. And Osiris has just crossed over into those Aquarian energies, right? The Aquarian energies of the collective consciousness of humanity, the liberation of humanity. So that's being brought in through this kite. And who's at the tail of the kite? Well, over here, one of the spiritual gifts 3 days before was that throne of Christ archetype, right? That ascension technology, which is now down here at the tail of the kite, lifting the kite. It's phenomenal what this kite is doing. But here's the gate. Moon and Venus together at almost 22 degrees of Sagittarius. And this is another stellium, Sophia, Regina, because who are they conjunct? The Galactic Center and Thecla. Yeah. Remember, Thecla is one of our divine royalty goddesses, right? Because what does she do? She owns herself as a divine being. And she says, I don't need you to baptize me. Right? I can baptize myself in the name of Christ because I am Christ.
Yes.
And who are they standing across from? Jupiter. Retrograde.
Who expands, and which is an expansion of our going in expanding our own self stuff.
Yes.
Going inside and expanding our finding of ourself, I guess is the only way I can think to put it.
Yes, everything Jupiter touches, he amplifies. He amplifies and expand, and he's in Gemini, which is traditionally known as the lower mind. But what we know here is he's amplifying the lower mind. We've been talking about Jupiter in Gemini, bringing the lower mind into alignment with the higher mind, right? The mind of God, goddess, or what I call Sophia-Christ consciousness. And so for Americans to know themselves, right? First house, know themselves as being aligned with the mind of God, goddess, and then acting on that impulse to come into relationship, seventh house, with the truth of who they are right here at the Christ heart. Isn't that freaking phenomenal?
It is. And this, I don't know that this even is on topic, to be honest with you, but it just came into my head. It's like, this is, to me, it's evidence that regardless if you're aware of it or not, or you're doing the work or not, humanity is in the process of transformation and ascension, whether they're aware of it or not. And that is just evidence to me, because I'm looking at these two kites and I'm going, oh my God, one of them's on its side and the other one is a little bit, well, this one's different, they're very different. And it's like, and that's the the shift that you witnessed in the consciousness on the 5th
It
as
is.
you were watching it, and so, but how many people are actually aware
Right.
that this is going on?
Right.
No, people aren't.
Well, and I
People live in
wasn't
their
because
little
I hadn't
holes.
looked at it. I wasn't aware of this as I'm watching this unfold before my eyes from 8 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock the next morning. I didn't know
I
about
don't know how you
this.
did it, but you're more a night person than I am.
No, I was told to do it because I was ready to pack it in, but I stuck with it to the better end. But look here, we've got the cosmic Christ in Aquarius. We know
Mhm.
this is the liberation of consciousness. This is freedom for humanity. We've got Neptune retrograde in Pisces, right? It's that divine light coming from your I am presence. It anchors in your Christ heart. What house is it in? The 11th house. That's the house ruled by Aquarius. The divine impulse to liberate humanity. And how is this kite able to take flight? Because humanity, through the activation of this Christ heart center, was able to come into alignment and know themselves from the higher mind. They were making choices and speaking, just making discernment of their choices through the higher mind. They were speaking their voice and casting the vote for their voice from the higher mind. It wasn't an egoic triggered event. This was the divine working through each and every one of those Americans.
Mhm.
This is the unfolding of the divine plan for the United States. That's why seeing that timeline shift happening before my eyes was thrilling for me. And
Mhm.
I know not everybody can see that. And I just want to say that, as a shamanic priestess, I was led to the shamanic priestess process because I was having my own shamanic experiences and I needed to understand them. And little did I know that's how my soul communicates with me. I see things that are a part of what I call uh the choreography, the divine choreography. I see it. And it's a part of my shamanic experiences. It's the way that my soul communicates with me. And it took me a long time to figure out that that's my soul language.
Mhm.
But that's what I do when I read these charts too. I can see these choreography of the frequencies. My natal Mercury is in Aquarius. I communicate at a frequency level.
Which leads me to a question of sorts, maybe, but or maybe it's just a statement. But okay, we know what Aquarius is about, right? And it Aquarius is an air sign, yet the symbol is water. And what happens with water? Water washes away things or erodes things. Or if it's bound and it will eventually burst through something. So that, to me, that's what I'm looking at, and I'm going, oh my God, in Aquarius, okay, we know that's an air sign, yeah, but that's a water symbol, the little waves. And I'm going, okay, but it's again, and there's Pluto right there, and Osiris, and Isis is right there as well. And it's like, okay, it is the water, it has broken the dam, for lack of a better term, of American consciousness as to who we are meant to be
Yes, America.
and what we are meant to be.
yes, the divine plan for our nation is that we are the way showers for
Yeah.
humanity in terms of who we are as a Christed race. And what is Capricorn, where Sophia and Pluto is there? The way shower.
Yeah. And so we got the air, we got Aquarius, and it's okay, you've got Capricorn showing the way, and you got Aquarius, which is the, I keep going to the water symbol because I know Aquarius is not a water sign, but what does water do? It washes the debris out of the way for the way shower.
Yes. And yes, I see how you see these as water waves. I see them as waves of frequency, although the Aquarius archetype is known as the water bearer. And I think I've mentioned before, either on an individual level or through some group stuff, that when William Henry talks about the cosmic waters, right, that Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary are the water bearers of, that this is the field, that he's referring to. And you're right. In order for that ascension to take place, we have to be washed with those cosmic waters to purify us, right? Ascension happens through purification, going back to the alchemical process, going back to Pluto. Pluto as the ruler of Scorpio, total alchemy, total alchemical process, total purification for transformation. But here we're talking about consciousness, right? Consciousness, fields of consciousness, so that any of those little spider webs of any psyops or any false programming that's been done through mainstream media that anybody's gotten themselves caught in, they can now be wrenched away from.
Yeah.
What's coming up for you around this, Winsong?
Just as above, so below.
Absolutely.
I think that it can be seen really clearly that there was movement in the heavens that affected those of us below.
Yes.
And now they're as below, so above. There's that constant exchange between the above and the below. That may be on a different level, a different frequency than it was before.
Yeah. And then we have election night. Okay. Now, I didn't know how to cast a chart for election night. So what I did is the polls here close at 8:00. So I cast it for 8:00 our time. But this was huge. This is what first jumped out at me. Look at this. The moon and Yeshua, right? Your inner Christ consciousness, the divine mother and your inner Christ consciousness conjunct less than half a degree. And they are making a square, a breakthrough in consciousness to the North Node. The North Node is the evolutionary GPS. Now look at this. The Divine Mother and Yeshua in Capricorn, 7th house, a whole new relationship with your inner Christ consciousness as your source of wisdom, is allowing this breakthrough in consciousness for humanity. 10th house, the work that we are to do. And North Node up here in Aries, what is Aries all about? Self-love, the capital S, love. When you hear other people say, well, what would Jesus do? That's kind of a cultural clip for, are you tapped into self-love? Capital S, your divine self, the love that you are. If you are tapped into your divine self and the love that you are as an embodiment, then you're going to know what Jesus would do, right? You're going to know what the Christ will do through you. That's the breakthrough in consciousness that happened on election night. Can you believe that? And then what did that do? It made a trine, a path of most allowance to Mercury in Sagittarius. Speak your truth. Speak your truth from your divine self, from the love that you are. Incredible. Now, over here, again, we see, as we did before, over here was a part of the kite, Sophia, Pluto, and Christ. Here they are. They are standing across still from the throne of Christ archetype, but now he's crossed into Leo, the Christ heart. After the gate activation, it was on the gate activation that the throne of Christ archetype for the sacred masculine was in the Christ heart for that Christ heart activation. So here he is in the Christ heart. And what are they doing? Well, he's making a sextile to Sedna. They're making a trine to Sedna, the path of most allowance, the BFF that's got your back to Sedna. What does the goddess Sedna do? She takes everything that that didn't work for us, and she transforms it into a higher frequency tool. So now we can thrive in this whole new paradigm. This timeline shift, this paradigm shift means we need to have new skills, new resources available to us to be able to thrive, right? So that those little seeds that started to sprout a bunch above the soil don't shrivel up and go away, because you want to see the momentum where that sprouting continues and they come into the full fruition. Well, that's what this trine, this path of allowance, is going to allow. That's what this sextile, the throne of Christ archetype, that ascension technology, and the goddess Sedna, they are alchemizing us at a higher frequency to kind of like lock us in to this timeline, so that there's, as quickly as it shifted one way, it could shift another way, right? But we want to see the seeds of unity consciousness that sprouted through these three events that I'm looking at here, through these 5 days. We want them to gain momentum so that everybody can be illuminated by that unity consciousness. And that's what Sedna will do. Just incredible, isn't it?
There's a lot going on that chart.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. There's a lot going on. What's coming into you? What ahas are you having to speak to what actually happened on election night?
Well, I mean, just what you were talking about was, I mean, you can see the shift. This is, people are becoming aware and claiming their own sovereignty again. And I keep going back. I guess I keep going back to that. I don't know, but it's not just it's more on it's a higher level of that. It's not just me as an individual getting pissed off and saying, no, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. It's a whole different thing of my soul is saying, no, you're not going to do what they want you to do. You have to step into your power. It's us stepping into our power.
Yes, yes, because look here. Look at the house where the cosmic Sophia and Pluto and Osiris are in. 8th house. Stepping into the power, reclaiming your power, using your power as a superpower, no longer giving your power away. And then across the
we've
sky,
done that.
Yeah. And then across the sky with the sacred masculine, this throne of Christ archetype, 2nd house. Use your Christ heart and the alchemical technology that's in the Christ heart as your resource for wielding your superpower. That's what's happening in this opposition between the two of them.
No wonder you could see what was going on. You could see this shift. I mean, I don't know how many other people would recognize that type of shift. I certainly didn't. But again, it is everyone is starting to do that.
I didn't see this, what I'm showing you here, because I didn't look at these charts until today. Yeah. But I was aware of the shift. You were aware of the shift. Windsong was aware of the shift. Now I come and look at the charts and I'm like, holy flipping, cow, there it is. It could have not happened.
Because the time, it is time.
It is the divine time in the divine plan.
Yeah.
And we are each an integral part of the plan. The plan is working out through us. This is why Yeshua told me the second coming of Christ is the emergence of Sophia through humanity. And that's what we've been seeing.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to share around all of this, Windsong?
No. I mean, my eyes start to glaze over when I'm looking at a chart. I'm just not good at that. It's not my strength. I listen and I can see it, but
as you're listening to the discussion, are you getting any downloads or ahas? You don't have to look at the chart to get those ahas.
No. I already spoke to those things earlier, so no.
Okay, and so then I said I was guided for us to have this conversation today, November 11th at the 1111 portal, because I did not want to do this conversation. It did not feel comfortable for me. But when Sophia asks, I try to find a way to say yes. And so when it was suggested I do it on 1111 with the potent frequencies of 1111 as the sacred container, I said, okay. And for those watching, if you're not aware, 11 is the number of Archangel Metatron. And some of you may be aware, if you watch William Henry's work, that Metatron is the ascended version of Enoch. And of course, we've worked in our Galactic New Earth Tribe with the Keys of Enoch material. So at this portal, I wanted to see, well, what's going on? And again, how to cast a chart. So I selected a chart for 11/11 this morning and a chart for 11/11 this evening. And I was fascinated to see, look at this. We've got Isis and Osiris coming closer to closer into sacred union, right? Sophia-Christ coming closer and closer into sacred union. Pluto getting closer and closer to that 0-degree threshold that he will be crossing over on November 19th, 8 days from today. And there is that sacred masculine archetype of the throne of Christ. And so we see them here at 11/11 in the first house to the seventh house. Knowing yourself as that divine I am presence, what I call Sophia-Christ, and being in relationship through the sacred masculine with the ascension technology to allow yourself to come into your own ascension. Aquarius is the ascension field. That's where all of the ascended masters are. This is the sign that I use for the ascended masters. You yourself have an ascended master self that will become realized and manifest through you and in your day-to-day life. And so coming to know yourself as that ascended master self, that Christed self, huge. And then tonight at 11/11, we shift. We shift completely. Let me see if I can change this. Hold on a second. Grab that and change it again. I was trying to make it smaller and there. So we go from first house with Pluto, Sophia, and Christ. Oops, I'm not sure what I did here. Where did you go? I don't see you. Let me stop the share and start all over there. Okay. They're in the first house, but at 11/11, they're over here in the sixth house. And in the morning, the Mars archetype is in the seventh house, but tonight he's in the 12th house. So this is a huge shift from first house, seventh house to sixth house, 12th house, and on opposite sides. So we're really seeing, the Christ heart in the 12th house. That's the house of Pisces. That's the source field. That's your source realm. Pluto, Isis, and Osiris, they're in that sixth house, day to day. So this is the time today in this portal where you can go through the eye of the needle, right? The camel has to be able to unload itself to go through the eye of the needle and be able to really come to know yourself and to be that ascended master self, that Christed self. And it's coming in through the Christ heart. So that's why today was chosen as the day for us to be able to have a sacred container, to have a conversation around a topic which some people aren't going to be able to hear and some people won't want to hear. But it's there for whenever anybody is ready to hear it, to be able to see the light and how the light is showing up for them, through them, and in their day-to-day life. And what is that light? It's the light of Christ. Do either of you have anything you'd like to say about what's happening today at this portal, or anything just in general around the 1111 portal?
I think it's important to understand that we're not hitching our wagon to one person or one ideology or one set of actions. That this is bigger than that. So it's hard to grasp because it is based on a set of values that was set over 200 years ago. And it's going to take longer to realize the potential that was set forth during that time. So I think, yeah, it's just real important to understand, not to get bogged down with one person fixing everything that you don't like.
Right.
And so that's the one thing that I want to be clear, is that we're not advocating that the change, that the shift was because of one person over another.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a real important point.
Yes, because as soon as you put your hopes and prayers or whatever on a person, whoever it is, then you abdicate your own responsibility for what you are contributing to the collective. And so
exactly. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So what we're focused on here is how the collective, in taking back its power and owning its truth, can now be responsible for what it continues to contribute as a nation, as citizens of a nation that has made a clear statement. We are a republic and we value freedom.
Yes, I believe that. Absolutely.
And keep in mind too, this nation just had its Pluto return. I mean, Pluto here at 29 degrees, almost zero, is still within 2 to 3 degrees of that Pluto return point. We're the nation as a whole has been having this Pluto return, is having this Pluto return still. And so that Pluto return was crucial in preparing this nation and its citizens for this paradigm shift, preparing us for this timeline to show up.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and Pluto returns only happen to countries. They don't happen to people because we don't live 235 years. But I remember reading about other countries that had, when they had their Pluto returns. France obviously is much, much older than we are. And what happened was the storming of the Bastille in their Pluto return. So that was, again, people taking their power back and proclaiming that freedom above all was important to them. There are other countries too that have experienced similar things within their Pluto return.
Yeah.
So you can't underestimate its power.
No, you cannot. And what's fascinating to me is, obviously you have to find some media outlet to watch the unfolding of the election results, right? You pick the best one that you feel like you can resonate with. And but what was amazing to me as I was watching it is everybody on that media channel were as stunned as I was stunned. And they were talking about how they were dialed into other media outlets and how those people in those other media outlets were as stunned as they were stunned. Nobody expected this to happen.
No.
And I pretend that goes back to the fact that Uranus was at the head of the kite at that new moon in Scorpio, because what does Uranus do? Brings about the unexpected, like a bolt of lightning. Boom.
Yep. It was unexpected.
Yeah. So what I want to speak to now that I'm very aware of, since the American field of consciousness has made this shift into the what is the word I want to use? The tender sprouts of unity consciousness, is that it feels to me like we're mirroring a time in our history, which was when President Lincoln was elected for a second time and had to make his second inaugural address right at the end of the Civil War. And what's important, I think, for us all, again, we're all responsible. I'm trying to find a place to put us all here where we can see everything there. We're all responsible. What's important, I think, that we understand that our nation, our citizenry has been through a kind of civil war. May not have been a physical war on the ground, although in some cases there were outbursts, but it's definitely been a psychological and perhaps even emotional civil war. And my hope is that we can take the same opportunity now that Lincoln offered then to move away from this us, them mentality, which is that separation consciousness, where we recognize that as a nation, as a people, we are all responsible for what has been created, and therefore we are all responsible for healing the wounds in this nation. Because to go on and on about the enthusiasm and excitement I have, the passion I have for this shift in paradigm that I see, is not to ignore the fact that there are people in our nation that are feeling very wounded through all of this. And so we are brothers and sisters of one nation. We are brothers and sisters of one divine source being. And it's our responsibility to find the space to come into a place of compassion and forgiveness to help each other heal. And this is another aspect of the unity consciousness that's being birthed here. We cannot heal as a nation from separation consciousness, where we're blaming them, whoever the them or the other is. We have to remember that, if one belly is hungry, if one body is suffering, we are all hungry, we are all suffering. We are our brother's keepers, whether we like it or not. And so we have to take on the mindset of unity consciousness that says, I too, some part of me is too responsible for this. So how can I heal it within me so that I can heal it for the whole? And I am hopeful that this is something that we will start to see manifest as we move forward, especially now that Pluto will be in Aquarius, that those cosmic waters, those living waters of Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary can assist us with that healing process. That Scorpio new moon that had that kite built on a grand water trine. Water is a healing element. I am hopeful that this has been built into the consciousness, and I'm hopeful that will be the next evidence of the paradigm shift that I will start to see. How do the two of you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's important to be watchful.
Yeah.
At this point, I see myself being more involved than distancing to the present path, and I think that's important for me, is to be watchful of what is going on. It could probably be compared to the skies, what's happening above. So that's important to watch too. And astrology is not a predictive science, and it can only suggest what energies might be working at any one time. And I think it's real important to remember that what's happened is not to blind anybody from understanding what the truth is. And that's what's happened to us in the past. We all had to wake up from that. We all have to wake up from that, how we've been programmed. But to me, this is indicating that without jumping down rabbit holes and getting stuck, I want to be very, very watchful of decisions that are made that will affect a lot of people, and see if those seeds if there is some growth there. It should be evident. Let's see.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And remember our own innate power. And in terms of us being multidimensional beings, working with the quantum field, what you look for is what you will find. And so if there are people out there that are so wounded that they're looking for some kind of a failure or some kind of a justification for a blame that they want to hold, they will see it. They will find it. That will be their reality. I hope through my work that I've demonstrated that I am perpetually seeking and looking for a higher vision. And I am here to say that because I look for a higher vision, because I work for a higher vision, I literally experience seeing the evidence and manifestation of that higher vision in my world. And so I am committed to looking for the evidence of the healing and looking for the growth and the momentum of the unity consciousness. And that's beyond what one person chooses to do, because we're all responsible. We all have to make choices in our life that will contribute to the healing, that will contribute to the momentum. And so I agree with you. And astrology is not predictive. I do not use it as a predictive tool. I just read frequencies. And just like there are illuminated frequencies that I am focused on here, believe me, there are shadow frequencies that would give a totally different story, a totally different timeline, a totally different picture. But I'm not focused on those. And so I think everybody needs to decide for themselves, what do they want to live and experience as their truth? And are they willing to stay focused on that, no matter what it looks like out there?
I have to agree with you on that because, and then not that I disagree with what Maureen said either, but I think what you're saying with if you look for, whatever you look for is what you're going to find. Okay. And the only hope that I have for everyone is for them to look for the good, regardless of what you feel. I understand a lot of what's been said today. And why some people are grieving, as Winsong put it, about the outcome of what we saw happen a couple of days ago. But how much of what people are saying is truly how much of it is judgment from a third dimensional level because of what has been constantly repeated over and over and over again. There's an old saying is that if you say the lie long enough, it becomes true. You start to believe it.
Right.
The
whole Chicken Little, the sky is falling thing.
I never thought about that, but yes, that's absolutely true. So what is it? Look from the higher try to focus on the higher perspective. What's the best outcome or the best that can happen for the country as a whole? Okay. And it's not going, and we know this because change is difficult on this plane, at the fifth dimensional level and above, change is nothing. But here it's very different. And people are there, as I've said numerous times to my one daughter who is going through whatever she's going through, is that until you let go of what you keep holding on to, the good and the new cannot come in. You can't go for the life raft, or you can't unless you let go of the sinking ship. And so that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do. And I'm no different. It's very hard. And letting go in my family is a big thing. We glom onto shit and we just stay with it, regardless of the outcome, we just stay with it because it's what we know. It's what we're comfortable with. So that's one of the things that I see, is that hopefully, and I trust in the higher powers, that people are going to remove the blinders that they've been wearing so that the light can come in. Horses wear blinders. Why do they wear blinders? So they can't see, because horses see 180 degrees. So they don't want them to see what's on the backside, what's coming up from behind them. They want them focused about what's ahead. So they wear the blinders. So they put them on there so they can only look ahead. They can't see behind them. And hopefully people will remove those so that they can see the full picture. Because it's not about one thing or the other. In actuality, it's about for the whole good of the whole country, of the whole human race. How do we grasp onto that, the light that we are? And everybody has light and everybody has dark. We have both. What do you want to focus on? What do people want to focus on? And there will be people who will focus on the light, and there will be people who just stay in the dark. They just stay on. That's where they want to be, and it's for us to allow them to do that.
Right. And my intention for this conversation is for those that are choosing to focus on the light, to personally engage their evolutionary ascension path. You know, these are some ways in which you can also look for the evidence in your own life of how you are being illuminated, how you are coming into unity consciousness, how you are willing to hold a higher vision for the collective and not allow yourself to get bogged down in the us versus them that 3D is all about.
Mm-hmm. True.
So one of the ways in which we can help ourselves with this healing is with Violet Tara. And oops, sorry, I keep doing that. I don't know why I keep doing that. Hold on a second. It's because I have no control of my mouse. Violet Tara and the Violet Fire. And this is a quote from this I Am the Violet Tara book that was written by Peter Mount Shasta. Both of these books were written by him. And he tells us that Violet Tara is a manifestation of the Divine Mother. And I mentioned way back in March when we had that lunar eclipse that the Divine Mother has stepped forward in a way that is unprecedented. And now we're going to be going into a whole new evolutionary journey that has been initiated on the Virgo Pisces axis that's all about the Divine Mother. And notice that the Divine Mother was a huge part of two of these activations, three of these charts that I showed you, the new moon in Scorpio, of course, the Venus gate. So those all include the Divine Mother. And then at the night of the election, the Divine Mother with, less than half a degree conjunct the inner Christ consciousness, just making that breakthrough in consciousness to the North Node, where humanity is being evolved to, where you are personally being evolved to. So working with the Divine Mother now, in whatever way you connect with her, again, relating back to that water element, these cosmic living waters are the healing waters. That's what the Aquarius water bearer is about. And so by consciously invoking Violet Tara in your life, you can begin to manifest her qualities of forgiveness and compassion. Healing cannot happen without forgiveness and compassion. And so these are the things I would invite people who don't know where to start in their own healing or what to offer to others for their healing. You start with forgiveness and compassion. I talk a lot about I was able to make peace with this, or I knew I needed to make peace with that. For me, that's how I come into forgiveness. If I can make peace within myself around something, then I can come into forgiveness. And so by manifesting the qualities of forgiveness and compassion within you, that helps you with your own self-mastery, and that helps you with your own freedom. And like I said earlier, when we do it for ourselves, then we are doing it for all of humanity. We can purify humanity through the violet consuming flame. And in fact, I have a very real world recent experience of doing this because Hurricane Milton was coming. I asked the Galactic New Earth Tribe members to participate in holding the vision of the violet fire around the entire state of Florida. I went onto Facebook and asked a bunch of people to do the same, and we were able, again, looking for the evidence of the manifestation, we were able to take a category 5 hurricane that was supposed to hit us as a category 3 and reduce it to hitting us as a category 2. That's a significant difference, and that happened through the use of the violet fire, the divine mother, and of course the ascended masters, and every human person that chose to participate in that. So it works, and there's going to be, now is the time to even more so be working with Violet Tara and the Violet Fire for ourselves, our own purification, the purification of our planet as she's going through her ascension, and for all of humanity. The more you can build in mental space, emotional space of invoking Violet Tara and the Violet Fire, the better off you will be, the better off we will all be. And to me, this is the key to the healing that we're going to be looking for the evidence of.
Yes.
Yeah. True.
So, are there any final words that either of you have to share about this conversation of this shift in the collective consciousness of the American people, and these sprouts of unity consciousness, the unity and diversity that we have been able to witness through the election results?
Just looking forward to see that it keeps moving. I'd like to see where it goes in my lifetime.
Yes,
well, we know it's going to be unfolding over the next 2 decades as Pluto moves through Aquarius. So for anybody that's looking for a quick fix, spoiler alert, Pluto moves very
that's
slowly.
not happening. Yes, he does. He's slow as molasses in the wintertime.
Yep, he is.
What were you going to say, Winsong?
No, it's just that it's hard for me to look 2 decades ahead now. I'm not doing that. If I look 5 years ahead, I'm doing well. But I try to stay in the now better than before, because at my stage in life, I'm winding down, and that's okay. I'm not saying that I'm fearful. I'm not, but it just does, my perspective as a woman who is 77 versus a woman who is 60 or 61 is going to be very different. And I've made that shift. I started doing it when I turned 70. I said it as often as I could, my age, and I began to feel comfortable with it, and understanding that physically we do not have an eternity in this incarnation. We have to accept that at one point we won't be who we are today. We'll be different. We'll be in a different space, different kind of thinking, and we'll still go on learning, but our mission will be a bit different. And that's okay. I think that helps me to adjust to anything that comes along. I'm not stuck.
And I really feel like, the big takeaway that you left us with is, and we do this in our work with the Galactic New Earth Project and the Venus Synodic Cycle, is the power of staying in the eternal now. That's where your power is. And so I'm not suggesting that people look 20 years ahead. I'm just saying if you expect to see something overnight, you're not going to, because Pluto moves slowly, and he will be moving slowly through those Aquarian liberating energies of global consciousness for the next 2 decades. But the power that we have is the eternal now moment. And so choosing to stay in that eternal now and not becoming a Chicken Little is your best bet.
I don't have a Chicken Little philosophy anymore. I've very much stepped back from that. So.
And that's wonderful. And it is because of a Chicken Little philosophy that many people find it challenging to stay in the present moment, because they're so trapped in this awfulizing and you know, of what could possibly happen, what could possibly go wrong. But that disempowers you. It doesn't empower you. And that's why I'm saying
it does.
That you hit the nail on the head when you said choosing to stay in the present moment, that eternal now. That's where our power is.
Exactly. And that's always been a challenge, but it's easier now than it was.
Yeah. So I think we've come to the completion of our discussion, and I just want to thank from the bottom of my heart Sophia, Regina, and Wensong for joining me in this conversation. And I want to thank all of you that have been watching this conversation and listening to this conversation, for staying with us to the very end. And hopefully this is meaningful. Hopefully this is helpful. And if you find that it has been, please give this video a thumbs up so that it'll get out to more and more people, and will help them to be able to find the light that's manifesting in their own lives as well. Thank you very much, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.